to Skirt Strategies video. Katie Snap here.
And I'm Carol White.
We're giving you some leadership tips for women to self-manage yourself better.
Self-manage yourself?
That's redundant, but you know what we mean. Have a better life, keep focus, clarity.
I love what Katie named
Sanity.
this. Motivation without medication.
That's the topic today. Motivation without medication.
Interesting.
Wine counts as medication,
Oh, damn.
and you can be quite motivated with that. Unless you reach that tipping point,
Right.
then you lose motivation. But we're not talking about that today.
Katie.
We will talk about motivation.
Yeah,
Most-
Katie makes it to that tipping point often.
I tip over. I am from Missouri where cow tipping is normal. Let's get to the topic at hand, shall we? Motivation of self. We're going to make this motivation of self because, you have those mornings when you wake up and you can get it all done. At least you think you can. Do you have those?
Oh, yeah. I do, though. I get it done every morning.
Knowing
Every day.
yourself. No, you
Yeah.
have to know yourself. You get it all done every day?
Just
Oh,
Just
I'm
kidding.
so impressed for a moment. Motivation, there's some theories around motivation and motivating others and those around us is that you're naturally motivated, people want to do well, versus you have to motivate yourself or others, you have to light a fire. And I think for most of us, we want to be motivated, we like being motivated.
Well, and you like a good leader in your life that says,
Hold me accountable.
hold me accountable, and here's the big end goal, and let's all reach that. So isn't that
Exactly.
fun?
Yeah.
I love to have people in my life like that.
Well, we're going to talk in this video a little bit about how goals, end goals especially, can be very motivating. Question first. Think about a time in your life where things were going really well.
Okay.
You were effective, you were efficient,
Everything was working.
everything was working, and this can be job, personal, whatever environment you want to put it. I use the term flow. You've heard people being in the flow. You were essentially in the flow.
Right.
Then ask yourself, what was it about that situation that put me in the flow? Therein lies what your motivational environment is for you. For example, did you have a huge amount of autonomy?
Oh, interesting.
Did you have all the resources you needed?
And therefore you were able to stay in the flow without coming out of it.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, interesting.
Like I could get a project done. We were putting on a public event and I had an unlimited budget, which is like, God, don't have to worry about decisions on budget limitations because kaboom, we can get it done.
Right.
That leads to a little bit more creativity because you don't have limitations.
Right.
Did you have others that you worked with and you were in a team environment, or maybe even for those of you that are technical, you were in an isolated environment where you were in control of your own little lab?
So which one of those motivates you more?
That's a
being
very personal
isolated,
thing.
or being with others in a great team.
You tend to be, when you're in the flow, not self-conscious at all. You're more along, you're moving through it. Environments where you're in the flow have a nice balance between stretch and stress.
Okay. Explain that a little bit.
If you're pushed just a little bit, for most of us, if you're pushed just a little bit, it's motivating. For example, for those times in your lives when you haven't had a job, or you've been on vacation, or you've had a few days off, or whatever it might be, have you noticed how inefficient you are with your time?
Yeah, it's like, wait, I just got up and the day is over. What happened?
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything.
I didn't do
had 4 bowls
anything.
of cereal before 9 a.m. But if you are structured and you're getting off of work, I remember I used to get off at work at 4:10. I'd make sure I did this errand and that errand, and then I got home, and then I got my exercise in, and then I got to watch Seinfeld or whatever it was. I had this sense of I did the whole 8 hours work, and I got all this other stuff in because I knew I had to.
Right.
You wouldn't be half that productive if you didn't have a little bit of stress. Now, or a little bit of stretch.
Right.
But if it gets to be too much, which so many of our lives are right now, then
Then it
what's
goes
look
into
like?
stress.
Right.
Yes.
You've got to know what that tipping point.
Right. So
for
what
you.
does motivate you? I mean, I've seen a lot of people that really work well under stress, and having come from the restaurant industry, I do believe that that's what some people are attracted to. They're attracted to that high stress, high
action, you're on your
action,
feet.
yes,
You're
work environment that happens every day. You know, every lunch hour, every dinner hour is just busy, crazy, and you're making things happen. I was addicted to that at one point. I am no longer.
God.
Yeah,
God,
thank God.
You've broken yourself from that
Yes.
habit. So here's something to think about. What is it in your life that answers these 5 questions? The more, and I'll give you the answers to these as we go through them, but the more these questions are answered for you, the more likely you are to have a sense of purpose and motivation.
Okay,
Because
so-
purpose drives motivation.
Okay. True.
The first one is, I'm going to use the environment of work, but this can be at home, at life too. What is it that you're doing at work? What's the purpose of your work? What is it that you build? What makes it different? What makes it special? Examples. If you're a nonprofit and you feed the homeless,
Right.
there's a very clear purpose right there. If you're in a production environment and you make medical equipment that helps people's lives be more easily managed, there's a purpose there. There's almost always a purpose for
everything we do.
I was going to say, there's always a purpose. I was going to say a motivating purpose, but I can't imagine making like the plastic cap for that lamp holder over there or something. And, you know, if you're in that kind of a manufacturing environment, well, you probably live in China.
And we're not talking to you.
We're not talking about that. But
No, I think even then you can find your purpose. I mean, and a lot of times that kind of thing has to be more about a personal purpose. Maybe the purpose is I'm making money here and I'm taking it home to feed my family.
Sure,
You know, I
that's
mean, there's a
good.
lot of
That's great.
purpose in that, and that's got to feel good. You know, even a janitor has to have purpose. I'm keeping these hallways clean for the students that walk through here every day. They may not appreciate it, but I know
That's
in my
nice.
heart it's the right
Right.
thing to do.
So you get that. So the first question is, what is that general purpose that's happening around you? The second question is what are you working on in that environment? What's your role within that? So if it's feeding the homeless, it's I make sure the shelves are stocked with all the food that we need. That's where I fit into making that end thing happen.
Right.
I work at a hospice. You know, maybe you're a nurse. You have that small piece of a bigger picture that is one-on-one with a certain patient or group of patients. You make that happen. That's where you fit in.
Right. So find your purpose, and I always I come back to, what does success look like? What does it look like when you're totally motivated? Things are working for you, and I know you're not through your complete list of
It's okay.
questions, but what does success look like to you, and what is that end goal? So
Good.
you're always working towards
Good.
something higher than yourself.
So that piece of it, the picture where you fit in, and that end goals is a piece of that as well. Is hugely important. Now, there's some other pieces around it that need to be answered because they affect that. Otherwise, we'd just be able to say, here's my purpose, here's where I fit in. You kind of have to make the building blocks of that happen. And one of that is, what if I need help? That speaks to resources. What do I use around me for the resources to make that come into play to happen? The fourth question, how am I doing? How do I know I'm doing it well?
True.
What sort of do I work
Feedback
in?
is really important. And for those of you who are in charge of other people, just remember that feedback is totally important to other people. They need to know how you feel about what they're doing. So don't hesitate to tell them and try to make it positive.
Yeah.
You know, that's motivational. Negative feedback is less than motivational. You've got to couch that in some ways that we talk about in other videos.
Mm-hmm. Then the last question ties all of that together, which is, what's in it for me? If you've identified the purpose, the environment, the goal, the resources around you, how it plays out, what's in it for you? Either it's recognition, or it's respect, or it's personal growth. Or you're building relationships by doing it. Maybe that's what really drives you. That pulls all of it together to be the motivational piece that's personal to you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tons to think about. When you're in the flow, when you're in that phase of your life where you're in the flow, you know it, you love it, and you wish it could last forever.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't, but
It just doesn't.
that's what
And
makes
that's okay.
maybe that's what makes it special is you've got those times when you're really flowing. So, well, that's it for this video. We love having you follow us. We'd love to have you watch every single video that we have because our website is a treasure trove of all sorts of resources, blogs, video blogs. We have a podcast.
Don't forget the podcast because it is something you can do while you're exercising, while you're commuting. Listening to Katie and I for 30 minutes a day is always motivational.
Well, we like to think that.
It
We're
is.
motivating.
It is.
Yeah, we love having women work with us and follow us. There is a monthly subscription. If you would like to be held accountable on a weekly basis, we'll send you an assignment, a small, tiny piece of training on a different topic each week that fits into the monthly topic. And it's an audio and a one-page worksheet, easy to do, but nice for keeping those skills in front of you on a small, manageable basis. Thanks.